was quite the entertaining adventure. I honestly didn't know what I was going to expect going into it. A lot of people told me to just watch it, you'll enjoy it, and it supposedly had monsters or something of the sort, so I went into it and I watched it, and I just finished the last episode, and you were right, I enjoyed it. It's not at all what I expected it was going to be, but it was still very enjoyable. There was a lot of religious tones with this. The people felt real. The dialogue felt real. But of course, as many of you know, I really didn't like episode 2 at 34 minutes. Something horrible happens. And it was very distasteful, and it put a lot of people off from the show, and I had to take a break from it, but after I did come back because the show was decent. The main character named Riley comes back to a very small island. It shows him having been somebody of decent stature in society, getting in trouble with the law after he accidentally killed a young girl. I mean, she looked like an adult to me, but he killed her when he was driving while drunk. After that, his entire life is ruined. He spends time in jail, and he gets letters from his family, his mom and dad, saying how much they miss him. They know that he's done wrong, but it's still their kid. They also give him a Bible, which indicates that these people are very religious. Every night when this guy is going to bed, he sees this girl that he killed. That's one of the most frightening things about it. And no, she's not a ghost, but it's freaking creepy. I don't remember seeing something this creepy with freaking shards in their eyes, dude. That was very well done, the makeup of this. We get to see life on this little island, which seems to be populated by fishermen and religious people. We meet Riley's little brother and his friend on the right. This kid is the sheriff's son, and he's trying to fit in with the other kids. Clearly, there's a little bit of prejudice going on here, but it doesn't seem like anything malicious. It just seems like the normal behavior that kids would exhibit when meeting somebody who looks different than everybody else on the island. Even if there are dark-skinned people there, of course, Ollie is going to be seen as an outcaster because of the whole 9/11 thing. All the friends ride to this place far away from where everyone else is populated, far away from the residential areas. They take a canoe to the upwards. And at this little outcropping of the island, they go in to go smoke weed. At this moment in time, I don't know what I'm expecting to happen, but you can see the cat eyes glowing all over the place. And they do a lot of foreshadowing and setting up here in the scene because they say in the upwards here, there are a lot of dead bodies that are buried there that the cats probably feed on. And when it storms, those dead bodies wash up on the main character's little brother's house, which tells us we're going to see something like that later. Now, throughout their time here, you can see constantly cat eyes in the background. I mean, on this island, there are cats everywhere. It's a very small outcropping, so there's hundreds of cats, and they've bred so that the place is basically overpopulated. So when they see these glowing eyes in the dark, they're not fearful. After all, there's no real predators on this island anyway, except for the cats, of course. So later on, when the main character sees something that has glowing eyes but doesn't behave like the cats, understandably, he's freaked out.
They're fucking. Probably sounded just like that. Shit! Warren? The fuck?
Yeah, right? But they just chalk it up to being nothing. Maybe it's the weed. Maybe it's particularly strong this night. We also meet this old lady and her daughter, Sarah. Mildred, which is interesting because I have never met a young person named Mildred. This old lady seems to have dementia, and her daughter, Sarah, on the left, is taking care of her. She actually gave up having a love life with her girlfriend off the island onto the mainland because she didn't want to leave her mom. And I guess you can't really blame the girlfriend for not wanting to come down because there's nothing to do here. But as you can tell, the poor old lady is very senile, very weak. As a matter of fact, Sarah had to move her mother downstairs because her mother broke her hip recently.
I think you've put me in the wrong room. My room is upstairs.
No, Ma. No more stairs. Not for a year now. Not since you broke your hip.
Meanwhile, Riley is warmly welcomed back home by his mother. We're introduced to some other characters, like Pike. He dies. And look how nice his nails look. Looks like he just got those clipped. He's such a beautiful Cane Corso. And I'm not sorry if I spoil that for anyone because I would have wanted to know. After we see Joe Collins' dog Pike, we are introduced to the hottest sheriff I've ever seen. Where'd they get him from? Calvin Klein? Tell me he doesn't look like a brown John Krasinski. Like, that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, you really look like John Krasinski. It's so freaking weird. He's so fine, it's not even believable that he would be a sheriff in this town. Like, no, you don't look like that and work as a sheriff on a small freaking island with only like a population of 127 people. That doesn't happen. And you certainly don't travel to the island. You know, you grow up in the island and you leave, but no one goes to an island like this looking like this, unless you're a serial killer. We also meet the bearded man, Joe Collins, who is Poochie Pike's owner. And this woman, who I would not trust over my animals. The dog simply barks at her, and she's the only one that he barks at like that. He didn't even move off his spot. And it's like she wants to have the dog killed. And immediately after that happened, and the way she stares at that dog every time, I know that this is the kind of person you don't want within an inch of your pets. I wouldn't even trust her to serve me food.
Yeah, you just ignore her, buddy. She's just mean. She's just a meanie. I'm sorry for the hassle.
I really love the characters in this show. I'm sorry if I said movie. I have a habit of doing that. But I really love the characters in the show, particularly Joe. Joe is an alcoholic, and we get to learn why after a while. He's so sweet, just as sweet as his dog Pike, and you do fall in love with some of the characters, specifically the main characters. And let me say, none of the characters are safe. The people you think are gonna die probably don't. Let me just say, nobody's safe. Nobody's safe at all. And surely enough, if the freaking dog is not safe, none of the humans are safe. I swear. Riley is very lost, it seems. Coming back to a place where everyone knows that he hurt someone and killed them, like, it's very difficult. His mother is the sweetest person, and you know that if she gets mad, there's a reason for her to be mad. You get to learn that the town is very religious. As a matter of fact, this whole show has a very huge religious overtone. Not undertone, overtone. It's like the show is mostly about religion, which is honestly not bad because it's done right. You hear different perspectives from different people. I'm an atheist, ex-Christian, and I can say, although the show is philosophical, it does a great job of allowing you to hear different perspectives. People talk about life after, and people make valuable arguments for their belief. It doesn't feel like apologetics like a lot of people do. It actually feels like people talking that have differences that are like, you know, this is why I believe what I believe. I think it's a source of comfort. And this person combats their argument by saying, this is why I believe what I believe. I don't believe this because of this. And nobody is malicious to the other person. Everyone is just having a conversation when they're talking. And what I love about it, which is so surprising that some people are upset about it, is that people can sit down and have a conversation about their beliefs without being malicious towards each other. At least the good people of the town. You get to meet this guy. His name is Father Paul, and he is so adorable. He kind of reminds me of another cute actor. I don't know who it is. I know. I call it when people are attractive. Sue me. But to the congregation's surprise, he is filling in for Father Pruitt, an old Monsignor who apparently took ill after he took his trip to Damascus, I believe it was. And he lets the people know that this is just temporary. I'm just filling in for Father Pruitt. Father Pruitt is fine. It doesn't take long to realize that there's something a little bit more amiss than he's saying. But I gotta say, his acting is amazing. The way he speaks, you can tell that this is very natural for him, or that he is really into his character, because he doesn't speak like he's reading from a script like most actors do. Most actors, when they talk, when there's dialogue, there's no flubs, there's no natural hiccups that you would have in speaking. Like the way that we would speak to each other if we were face to face. You would have some flaws there. And while the videos, you forget that because sometimes we can edit certain things out if we do have a flub. When you're actually talking to people in real life or streaming and talking to people, nobody talks very perfect. And this pastor, priest, does a good job at showing that. So you forget that you're looking at an actor, you forget about everything and just get immersed in the story.
But I do have to ask, why not every Sunday? Christmas, Easter, I get that. But there's also always an uptick around the start of Lent. Why is that? What's so special about today?
You see, the way he speaks, kind of like that Ian Malcolm kind of speech, is, I imagine, the same way he would speak in real life. I call him Ian Malcolm, see, because Ian Malcolm is the character. That's how you know someone has good acting. Jeff Goldblum, I mean. Jeff Goldblum speaks like that, and it's very natural. Very distinct, but very natural. He feels like a real person who's gathering his thoughts as he's speaking. Now, of course, not everyone speaks like that. Some people are a little bit more fluid and don't flub as much, especially if they are experienced with talking in public. I just thought that was refreshing. That's something I also liked about Rick and Morty, even though with Rick and Morty, it's a little bit more forced and stylized because of the characters. Anyway, the whole island prepares for a storm that is incoming. I mean, it's going to be a really bad storm where people are locked inside. And we see the new Father Paul sitting there with that big chest that he was fiddling with before, and it's now open and empty, almost as though he was storing a living thing in there. Meanwhile, Riley, in the middle of the storm, notices something with a flash of the lightning. A man standing out there that he can swear is Father Pruitt, the old Monsignor who's supposed to be ill and back on the mainland. He tells his family, but they don't see anything. The mother remarks that her vision's not what it used to be, so maybe she just can't see what he's looking at. Frustrated and very concerned for Father Pruitt, Riley runs out and calls out to the old Monsignor, who looks behind but then runs away. Riley is running very fast after him, and this thing is just like, no matter how fast he runs, he can never catch up to the supposedly old and sick man, which is weird. And then, out of nowhere, just loses him, which is very peculiar, because you know, old-ass men who are near death, they're not supposed to be running in the middle of a storm faster than a young man. That's weird. So from the start to finish of this episode, I am intrigued, and after the storm is over the next day, everything is torn apart. They notice also that there's a lot of seagulls. No worry, right? But it's a little bit weird that the seagulls are particularly active and hovering over one area, the beach. And the episode finishes when they follow the seagulls and see what they're all picking at. Hundreds upon hundreds of stray cats had been washed out from that place where the boys were at earlier, and they're all lying dead on the shoreline. What could have caused this? Anyway, that's it for episode 1. If you guys were intrigued on what this is about, let me tell you, you're gonna want to watch this. If you like mystery and you like horror, I would say it's not really a horror per se. I mean, it is a horror, but I don't know, more like a thriller fantasy to me. There is a lot of philosophical talk in here, but honestly, I don't mind it because it feels very tasteful where you can hear what different people are thinking. But if you just want action and horror, this is probably not going to be for you. This is more about people's lives and their thoughts about the here and now and the life after while integrating it into horror, which I don't mind at all. Like I said, I think it was a very interesting take on things. I also like the specific concept that this genre is based on. Like, there's a specific concept that has been done before, and they did it here, and it's very, very nice. Because it feels kind of like The Walking Dead, the way they did their concept, if you know what I mean. Not gonna tell you what that concept is, because that would spoil everything for you. Anyways, if you guys are interested in seeing it, it's on Netflix. Let me know what you think. There are some very, very sad moments. Very sad moments that almost made me stop watching. But I'm glad I watched it till the end. It is really an interesting find, and I'm glad that you guys recommended it to me. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.